Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spinner Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the new U2 album, Songs of Innocence. So before anything else, I should let you guys know this is one of two videos I released simultaneously about this album. The other one, which I'll annotate here, link in the description and stuff, is where I talk about the marketing and release of this album through Apple. And basically talk about my thoughts on the general concept of that and the backlash it's gotten. I did this not only because I have my fair share of thoughts on each topic, but because I've seen a lot of people basically basing their entire opinion of the album on the marketing and release, and vice versa, including in a lot of professional reviews. And as you can probably tell from the title of this is going to be talking about the music and nothing but the music. And I hope that you guys commenting, if you plan to leave a comment, can respect that too. Moving on. I'm pretty sure U2 needs no introduction at this point, but they're an Irish rock band who, over the course of their 30-plus year career, have made numerous timeless classic albums, most notably War, The Joshua Tree, and my personal favorite, Achtung Baby. Not to mention, they basically shaped the sound of unapologetically epic, emotional arena rock of the last 25 years or so. This is quite an interesting review for me to write, because my history with this band actually goes pretty far back. I got into them through their 2000 album, All That You Can't Leave Behind, and at age of 10, it was one of the first albums I ever really loved. And while looking back, this thing is definitely on the front-loaded side. U2 has, for as long as I can remember, been a fixture in my musical catalog, and for good reason. So given it had been over 5 years since our last album, No Line on the Horizon, which was really good, if a bit underwhelming at times, I was really excited to hear that the release of their new album, Songs of Innocence, had come so suddenly. In fact, the only reason it's taken over a week since the release of this thing for me to put out a proper review is because not only is my timeliness with the release date, it's always a bit iffy on this channel, and I was working on a couple other reviews at the time, but also because I really want to give this thing a lot of listens, because I knew that no matter how much I like or love or dislike it, this is going to be a landmark release for me this year for sure. So what do I think about this thing? Well, it's a really good U2 album. Not too much more or less I can say than that. Let me explain. See, even though U2 does tend to get pigeonholed stylistically, they have changed direction in a major way a lot over the years. Like, for example, The Joshua Tree and No Line on the Horizon were a lot more atmospheric and expansive than their predecessors. How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb was their most bare-bones rock record in decades. Their 90s output got more and more electronically driven, reaching its peak with the unfairly maligned pop. And the change from the uber-pretentious hero worship of Rattle and Hum to the innovative, futuristic punch of Achtung Baby gave some people mental whiplash. Meanwhile, Songs of Innocence, beyond the way it was released, in my opinion, is one of those rare U2 albums that doesn't really do much to separate itself from the rest of their discography. But at the same time, that doesn't mean this thing is bad, or even just average. Even if they're worst, to me, U2 has never put out a flat-out clunker of an album. All U2's best trademark traits are there. Bono can still pull off an engaging, emotional performance vocally. The Edge, while never being a technically mind-blowing guitarist, has made a name on his very distinct playing style that continues here very nicely. And U2, of course, can write a memorable melody in their sleep at this point. To single out some of my favorites musically, I love the rough, fuzzy guitars and instantly anthemic vibe of The Miracle of Joey Ramone, the steady bass and drum groove on Every Breaking Wave that reminds me a lot of With or Without You, the inclusive ballad Song for Someone that I can definitely see being a live favorite in the future, the very How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb-esque rockers, Volcano, and to a lesser extent Cedarwood Road, Raised by Wolves, which to me really calls back to War, the pulsating rhythm section on This Is Where You Can Reach Me Now, and the emotional closer The Troubles, which is really enhanced thanks to a guest spot from Lykke Li on part of the refrain. And speaking of guest artists, I thought it was really notable that Ryan Tedder and Danger Mouse are some of the most prominent producers on this thing. Lyrics have never been an element of U2 I've really put on a high pedestal, and even though this is my first time really analyzing the lyrics of one of their albums, I still don't really have much to say. There are a lot of these broad platitudes scattered across this thing, but to me Bono has enough earnesty and power in his delivery that he can really pull this off nicely, but without coming off insufferable or pandering. That being said, there are definitely some lyrical highlights on this thing, like The Miracle of Joey Ramone, which, as you can tell from the subtitle, is a tribute to the late Ramone singer, sort of timely because all the original Ramones have unfortunately passed away. It basically recounts how they felt when they first discovered the pioneering punk band, but at the same time, it's general enough that it can really relate to anyone whose world was changed through a certain band or artist. In other words, this is not the best song in the world, this is just a tribute. If I had to point out some kind of recurring theme on this album, it would be some kind of inner turmoil. Like Every Breaking Wave, which talks about the struggles of a long-term relationship in a pretty likable way. Volcano is a second-person account of someone going through a lot of frustration and just trying to keep up with the pressures of the world around them at the same time. And the troubles, while definitely up to interpretation, to me is from the point of view of someone telling off the other person in an oppressive or even abusive relationship. And I can really see it resonating with a bunch of people in that similar kind of position. Raised by Wolves is a very notable one too, since it's the only song on here with any kind of socio-political themes, where the narrator witnesses a car bombing happening and is later the victim of the aftermath. To me, the imagery and just overall vibe of this song really helps it make it one of the more interesting songs on the album. But all compliments aside, this album isn't without its duds. The one I'll be the most lenient on is Iris Hold Me Close, since I know that this is meant to be a very heartfelt tribute to Bono's late mother, the titular name, which just makes it more of a shame that this song is so bland and run-of-the-mill musically. Sleep Like a Baby Tonight is one of the songs here produced by Danger Mouse, and even though I do generally like him as a producer, including the other two albums he's worked on this year, I can't help but feel like this isn't one of his finer moments, even though I do like his production on the other songs on this album he worked on. Also, with a few exceptions here and there, I've never been the hugest fan of Bono's falsetto. To me, he's at his best vocally when he's really pushing on that upper register, but without really crossing that border into the laughable whimpering he does on the bridge of this song. And California, There Is No One to Love is one that just bugged me on the first listen, with that stupid Santa Barbara intro. It sounds like they're trying to do an impression of the Beach Boys or something and just failing miserably. And between that and the really cheesy lyrics, this just comes off to me as like a throwaway B-side bonus track or something. But overall, like I said, I still think Songs of Innocence is a really good album, and I'm going to give it a solid 7.5. Is it their most distinct, daring, or raw album to date? No. But at the same time, the song quality for the most part makes this a very worthwhile addition to the YouTube discography. And hey, there definitely could have been worse albums to release like this. So what do you guys think about this album? Do you agree with what I had to say, disagree, have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below, and remember to keep these comments about the music and nothing but the music. If you want to hear me talking about like the release and marketing and all that stuff and just my thoughts on that, if you want to talk about that, the video, annotated here, link in the description, all that fun stuff. Anyway, share this around with anyone who might be interested, like the Facebook page in the description for updates, commentaries, music news, and reviews of older albums, and hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spinner Reviews. One more thing, guys, I really have to recommend this here podcast, one of my favorites ever, You Talking You Too to Me. It stars Adam Scott Aukerman, aka Adam Scott Aukerman. It's the comprehensive and encyclopedic compendium of all things U2. They go album by album. It's really good. They just came back after a few months because obviously there's only so many episodes you can do on one band's discography, obviously. But they just came back with an episode about Songs of Innocence. It's amazing. It's hilarious. You need to listen to it now. T-shirts.